many things would you consider about a person before you agree to marry them? I've been working on a story this week for the India Today magazine, and it's looking at a sort of fatigue that's come in with virtual matchmaking. And as part of my research, I've been going onto various platforms and trying them out. And one of them had a extremely exhaustive list of 48 questions that I had to answer in order for them to find my perfect match. And this made a whole lot of sense to me, right? Because when you're looking for somebody to connect with, you need to find somebody you trust, somebody you feel safe with, somebody who is able to balance out your limitations with their strengths. And so it makes a whole lot of sense that you would invest a certain amount of time, energy, and effort into finding the person you'd want to spend the rest of your life with. Nobody, although there are exceptions to every rule, but almost nobody would just walk down a street in Goa and marry the first person they saw. It wouldn't matter how sexy they are. It wouldn't matter how much money they would save you. It wouldn't matter how many likes they'll get you on Instagram. It's just something that one wouldn't do. When it comes to choosing your life partner, it's a very, very serious decision, and you won't just randomly go about it. So then tell me, why would you do that with the person who is going to ink your skin with a design that will stay with you for the rest of your life? This is Sonali Acharji, and you are listening to Health Wealth, a podcast that wants to help you embrace all aspects of well-being in a safe, joyous, and well-informed manner. Now, I can tell you the size of the market and the CAGR predictions for the tattoo industry in India, but we both know that you can Google that. So I'm just going to start with the fact that both the demand as well as the opportunity to get tattoos today has significantly increased in India. But unlike things that we are traditionally used to decorating our skin with, things like jewelry or makeup or even body soap, right? The awareness of the safety, the ethics, and the technicalities of a tattoo is still fairly low. And possibly because they have had a bit of a iffy reputation for a while now. And I am starting to see this ignorance manifest in the world around me. So just a few months ago, a friend of mine went and got a unicorn tattooed, except it looks like an ice cream cone. And another friend got a series of incredibly cute little colored hearts on her ankle, and she got that about 8 months ago. And she called me up and she said they're not hearts anymore. And I said, really? What are they now? And she said, they've turned into dots. They look like a rash on my skin, and I have to wear socks all the time because I can't show my feet to anyone. And I said, all right. And perhaps the worst instance of trauma caused by a tattoo gone wrong is a former work colleague. She, in the beginning of September this year, as the heavens were mercilessly pouring down upon us and the humidity was super high, she went and got a colored tattoo done. And the tattoo was moistened because the humidity was high. It wasn't healing very fast. And somebody came to her and said, you know what? You should put mango pulp on it because mango has a lot of fat and that'll help soothe the skin and heal the skin. And in all her innocence and sweet, sweet trust, she did that. And there is now a thick layer of fungus on her skin, which has to be surgically removed, and she's in a lot of pain. And this really got me thinking that if the world is getting more stressful and we are looking at ways to beat that stress, either by getting a tattoo done or by stocking up on chocolate biscuits, or maybe that's just me. But if we are looking at ways to combat stress, it's so important that we understand both the physical and the mental impact of such a choice. And to help guide us, I have with me today somebody who is a little bit of an enigma to me, actually, because on one hand, I know he's been a tattoo artist for over 20 years. And I know he founded and works with Devil's Tattoos, which has a whole range of incredibly talented artists there. And they have outlets in Delhi, Gurgaon, and Luxembourg. So all this information sort of screams to me expertise, and he sounds like somebody you would want to go to for advice about tattoos. But then on the other hand, when I told a friend that, this is what I'm thinking of, she said, almost slightly reverentially, she said, no, no, no. He is the Lokesh Verma. He's inked celebrities and he is a legend. You can't just call him up for advice. And I thought about that for a bit and I said, you know what? That is exactly what I'm going to do. So, hello, Lokesh. Thank you for joining us.
Hello,
How are you?
nice to meet you. Great,
Nice to meet
great.
you
Thank you
too.
for the introduction. And yeah, just to be clear, the legend
Yeah.
and all the things that you said, they don't hold true. I mean, I'm just a
Yeah.
normal artist, but yeah, just been in the industry for over 2 decades.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So, I know you are a veteran at tattoos, but I'd still like to start with something very, very simplistic. Um, you have legendarily tattooed, I think, 199 flags onto another person. Can you tell me what is a tattoo?
a tattoo, I think, is the biggest form of self-expression that you can wear on your body. It's visual art, but it's visual art which expresses the wearer rather than expressing a subject, or like how people say art is subjective. But in this case, you can really make out a lot about the person who's what the kind of tattoo that the person wears or gets etched on his skin. You can tell a lot about his or her personality by looking at the tattoo. So I think it's the most dynamic form of art. It's the biggest for me. It's the biggest form of self expression because you can buy a Harley and sell it after few days when the fad is over, but it's not so easy to do the same with the tattoo. So yeah, I think this
Yeah,
is a real commitment, and it's a form of art. It's a form of expression. For me, it's
yeah,
everything I know.
yeah. That's why I'd spend more time on finding a tattoo artist than I would a husband because divorce is getting easy. A
Exactly.
tattoo gone wrong is still painful, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think this was about 5 or 6 years ago. I was at the British Library in London and I found this beautiful book. And it was about the tribes of Papua New Guinea. And
Hmm.
it had this description of the elderly matriarch putting tattoos onto the young kids. And she would dip a sharp object into this natural color and then put it onto the skin. So it was like a dip, prick, and one
Yeah.
letter would take hours.
Yeah.
How are tattoos done today?
Uh,
You don't
some
dip
people,
and prick anymore, right?
yeah, you can still do that. Some
Oh, you
people, in
can.
fact, Japan still have even Polynesia, Samoan tribes. They still do that tibori. It's called tibori in Japan.
Huh?
So the hand poke tattooing. Same with Polynesian tattoos. But mostly tattooing has become much more modern. So with the invention of the tattooing machine in the early 1900s, and then there were rotary machines. So the earlier machines used to have coils, which is the same circuit as in your doorbell. It rings. So same circuit in a tattoo machine, and then it came to rotary machines, which uses a motor instead of coils, and now it has become wireless. So yeah, so now there are no foot pedals, no power supplies. A lot of things have been eliminated. It's much more convenient. You can sit here and do a tattoo rather than, you know, setting up the whole jazz.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes.
And and and
So
and it's exactly what do? You put the ink into the skin.
yeah, so you uh dip the needle. So needle is attached to the machine, which is about size of, I don't know, 6 inches. And then You dip it in the needle in the ink cap, which has the inks, and so people think that the ink automatically keeps on flowing in the needle, which is not the case. You still have to dip it like the old quill and ink pot. So you do that, and you draw a few lines for a minute or so, and then the ink runs out. Then you dip it again, and that's the whole process. The needle goes about 2 mm deep in your skin maximum. More
Okay.
than that will go into your bloodstream because there is epidermis, dermis, epidermis, and then the layer of fat and all. So you need
Mhm.
to do it in the skin, not in the layer of fat. Otherwise, the tattoo will blow out.
Yeah.
If it goes into the bloodstream anyway, it'll blow out and the ink won't stay, or it'll be like a stain. It won't be like a fine line. So yeah, you have to be very precise with the depth, with the sharpness, with the precision, with the speed of your hand, with the speed of the machine. A lot of things to calculate there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not as difficult as it sounds. If you're really passionate about something, you figure it out.
Yeah. I ask this because, everyone wants to get a tattoo, but you'd be surprised how many people don't understand how it's done. Um, Another thing, since we're talking about ink and needles and so on, now, unsafe needles, there's been a fair amount of press about it. Although you could briefly maybe talk a little bit about what happens if a needle is not safe. But there's a lot of talk happening about unsafe ink.
Hmm.
And I was very interested in knowing more about that. What makes ink unsafe, and what can that do to someone then?
Yeah, so more than the technical part that I told you about, I'm more interested in the hygiene part of it because technical things you can, spend few weeks and learn that. But hygiene is something which a lot of people still don't follow. I've seen beginner artists to to the mid level to the big names of tattoo industries in tattoo conventions not following hygiene, wearing the same gloves and touching the ink cap. So that is cross contamination. So, now the small splatters of blood, which you don't even see, your bacteria, is on your ink cap, on your ink bottle, which you will use for your next client. And that's how cross contamination happens. And all the bloodborne pathogens are spread. Uh, so, this is a topic which a lot of people don't talk about. People just want to see a new needle, and that's all. But
Yeah.
the needle is not the only thing in tattooing which you should see. There are 20 other things on the
Mm-hmm.
setup. Everything has to be brand new, except for the machine, which has to be sterilized after each use. Everything else has to be new. The razors, the tissues, the dental bibs that you put on the table, the cling wrap. I've seen people adjusting their earphones while tattooing with the same gloves or taking their phone calls with the same hand, opening the door. So all this should be very critical and uh, basically I don't like all these practices, but I see a lot of people doing that. So there are so many things. It's more than just an artistic job. You have to be very well aware of the sanitization and uh, I've seen dentists actually also doing touching the same things on the
Yeah.
table and
Yeah.
phone. So I'm because I make note of all these things. So I'm very
Mm.
finicky about
Yeah.
hygiene.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not only the needle. The artist, if you go to a reputed studio, the artist will walk you through the whole process about the inks that you. So the bad press that the infected needle India got. India generally don't, is not the best for hygiene. You see a lot of street food videos and all these.
Yeah.
And there are few guys on the roadside, because bad press will get much more coverage than someone doing a nice tattoo, of course. So
Mm-hmm.
these things spread a lot. And our
Mm-hmm.
country's name is always, I'm always not so happy when I hear these things. So yeah, some guy in a Mela did 20, 30, or I don't know how many tattoos from
Mm.
the same needle and did not change. It's like the old times.
Yeah.
But now people are much more aware. It's been happening since ages. In the small village fairs that you go to, there's a guy with a needle which is welded to the gun. You can, if he, even if he wants, he cannot change it.
Mm-hmm.
And he does the same. He uses the same
Yeah.
needle on hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And you just need one infected person, and it'll transfer to the rest of the clientele. Uh, Now, this is something which the government should regulate, but the government is not supposed, it's not even doing the job that they're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to do. So we cannot even expect them to interfere into this. If they can take care of the economy, that will be good enough. Uh, So you have to self monitor. All the studios have to self monitor. You have to have that you have to be ethical, that a needle costs whatever rupees. I can charge it from the client and use everything safe. But a lot of people, out of maybe, cheapness, or maybe out of uh, laziness, don't they might change the needle, but they might not change the tube. They might not, I've seen, okay, anyway, I've seen a lot of
You've seen a
blunders,
lot of
people,
horror stories.
horrors, yeah, horror stories.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, it's something to, people have to self, because right now here in Luxembourg, there's a proper 3-day hygiene course before you become a tattoo artist. Before you open a studio, you have to go through that 3-day of orientation, and then you get your certificate. But in India, there is no rules. There are no laws regarding tattooing, so people can do whatever they want. So the needle, of course, has to be new, along with the other things that are
Hmm.
used in the setup.
Yeah.
And then the inks used to be dangerous before. I'm talking about the 80s and the 90s, when there was no regulation by the FDA. So they used to have chemicals that used to cause bad allergic reaction to people in some cases, because not everyone is allergic. But now everything has become like the inks that we use, quantum tattoo inks. They're made in Hollywood, California. I've been to their factory where they produce it, and they are completely regulated by FDA. They are vegan. They have zero chemicals in it, like heavy metals, no metals at all. So, and some inks like white, or maybe some other inks, few other colors might have titanium oxide, but that is under the permissible limit. So of course everything is now regulated by FDA. So inks have become leaps and bounds safer,
Yeah.
much more
Yeah.
safer.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you take care of all these things, the inks, the needles, and ask the artist to, walk you through the whole process, I think you will be in much safer hands. And I think it's on the artist more than the clients to self
Yeah.
monitor themselves.
No, I do think that awareness on the client's part matters a lot in this, because you pay what you're getting for, right?
Exactly.
So somewhere in our heads, we see just a sketch and some black ink. You're not really processing the kind of monetary or logistical investment that getting that done requires.
Yeah.
I've seen people very happy to pay, 600 rupees for blueberries, because that's technically going inside their bodies, right? But
Yeah.
we're not able to associate art with, health benefits or health disadvantages. So I do think it's very important that people start to understand that if you're going to pay 2,000 rupees for a tattoo, the ink and the needle may or may not be safe, and it
Yeah.
does have its own consequences. Another thing people don't know is how to prepare for a tattoo physically before they go. So, I don't know. I read online that, people say if you're scared of pain, then you can take a painkiller, or I mean, I know that you shouldn't go drunk, but I'll be very surprised if I'll be surprised if somebody doesn't know that.
Yeah.
Um, so, can you just explain a few things that one could do or shouldn't do in physical form before they go for an ink?
Yeah. I think they should, first of all, have a meal before getting a tattoo. You should not be empty stomach, because you'll feel dizzy if you're empty stomach and you're taking a little bit of pain constantly. You're always squeezing your muscles, and the blood flow is not as regular as it is, because you're, clenching your fists and your teeth, whatever. So yeah, you cannot be hungry. You need to have a proper meal, not so much, but yeah, a moderate meal before going for a tattoo. Uh, you can carry some kind of snacks like chocolates or cold drinks, because sometimes, y- you're not anticipating you're actually anticipating the pain as much more, rather than what actually happens. So people they have a lot of anxiety, and maybe sometimes their blood sugar levels drop down. So sometimes because of that, they feel dizzy. Even before starting the tattoo, some people feel dizzy because they're so anxious.
Yeah.
Even when
Yeah.
they're standing next to the station, next to the bed, they're standing and we're placing the stencil, and they say, "Oh, just a second, I need to sit." So you need to, eat some chocolate, something sugary, something like a cola or something, which will help their blood sugars levels regulate. Uh, you should take a shower before, because sometimes a lot of people, they don't smell very good, especially when the tattoo is on the feet and they're wearing leather slippers and
Oh
roaming around
gosh.
in the market all day, and then they want the tattoo on the foot, especially females wearing sandals and roaming around in the market, and in the evening they want a tattoo on the feet. Or some guys, wearing the same old socks since the last 3 days and playing football. And so I literally have
Yeah.
sprayed deodorant on their feet without asking them, and they're looking at me surprised, and I'm surprised. Like, you should know this basic hygiene.
Yeah.
So yeah, take a shower, be clean, don't smell bad, wear deodorant,
Yeah.
and don't be empty stomach. Research your artist. Every artist specializes in a different style of work. Not everyone can do everything, or there is someone who specializes in a style which you're looking for. So if a tattoo is basic, then it's okay. But even for fine lines, not everyone can do fine lines. People who are doing big traditional bold tribal works, they don't specialize in fine line.
Yeah.
They will use a 7 RL, like a thicker needle, as their minimum. The least thinnest needle they'll use is a thick needle. Normally, what I've seen. So
Mhm.
research the artist. Uh, Not everyone can do everything. What else? Yeah, I mean, these are the basic things. Take an appointment.
Mhm.
mm, Fix the price first. Don't negotiate after getting the tattoo done. In India,
Does that happen?
there are a lot.
Oh gosh.
So,
Um, So another thing online, once the tattoo is done, there's a whole lot of stuff on what you should do. You can make it shine, you can make it, I don't know, heal faster and a whole bunch of stuff. But I wanted to hear it from a professional that if you're getting a tattoo done in black ink only,
hmm
what are some pieces of advice you'd offer for aftercare? And I will add that I love the fact that at Devil's Tattoos you do follow up with aftercare. I find that completely humane, and it makes
hmm
the whole process seem less transactional and a lot
yeah,
more safe.
I think the biggest myth regarding the tattoos in India is that you cannot put water on your tattoo. This is the biggest myth. It's like a wound. Imagine you got a wound, a dog scratched you, or you got scraped on the road. Some injury happened. And next thing you do is you don't wash it, you don't put water on it, you just let it be like that for 10 days. What will happen? Infection.
Yeah,
There'll
bacteria.
be thick scabbing, because there's this thing called plasma, which is like watery, yellowish, orangish thing which oozes out of the skin to form a
Hmm.
protective layer on your skin. That's the body's defense mechanism against, you know, foreign particles, bacteria.
Hmm.
So first thing you need to do is, like, imagine you got, scraped on you fell down and from a bike and you got an injury here. You will come home and wash it with antibacterial soap, put some ointment on it, and you will do that every day for the next 1 week, so that the scab which is forming is not too thick. Because when the scab is too thick, it just peels off suddenly on its own, and it takes a lot of color along with it when it peels off. So the most important thing is to don't let the scab be that thick. And how will the scab be not that thick is when you wash it every day with soap and water 2 or 3 times a day for 1 week. Because initial 4 or 5 days is the plasma, oozing out. If you wash it, rub it nicely with soap foam, and don't, whatever plasma oozes out, you just clean it. So it's just a thin layer, but it's not thick, because the first layer is already, you know settled down on your tattoo. So nothing will happen. The tattoo is not going, ink is already inside your skin, it's locked from the barrier of the skin, so it won't ooze out again. So most important thing is to wash the tattoo at least 2 times a day, maybe 3 times a day if possible, with soap and water, and put a thin layer, not even a layer, just few taps of aftercare ointment. A lot of people put a
Hmm.
lot of ointment,
Hmm.
and if you put a lot of ointment, then what happens is the pores of the skin gets clogged, and the skin is not able to breathe. And when the skin is not able to breathe, when the skin is very oily, what happens is acne and pimples.
Mm-hmm.
And then people think it's a after effect of the tattoo. You're getting allergic reaction. No, it's the skin which is not able to breathe. That's why you're getting these pimples. So barely any ointment, whichever your artist recommends you. Wash it 2-3 times a day. And in a week or maybe 10 days, your tattoo will
Yeah.
already be healed. This thin layer of skin which is coming out, let it be. Let it fall off on its own. Don't peel it off. Because some
And I'll
people, when you peel it off before
yeah.
time, then the ink will also come out with it if it's not
Okay.
healed.
Got it.
When it's healed, it will peel off on its own. So it'll take the whole process will take 10 days, maximum 2 weeks, but normally 10 days is what it
And
takes.
color is the same or is color
It's the
slightly
same.
different?
It's
It's
the
the same.
same. The skin does not know the difference between black or color. It'll heal the same.
All right. And another thing I really wanted to know, I see you have a couple of tattoos on your arm,
Yeah.
but you don't seem to have one on your eyes, which is all the craze right now. So, is it safe to get your tattoos, get your eyes tattooed?
No,
No?
it's not recommended by.
Because I notice you don't offer that at Devils.
Yeah, yeah, we don't do that. We don't do experiments. It's your eyes, which are
Mm.
kind of important for you to survive.
Yes.
And these
Yeah.
tattoo procedures are nowhere approved by FDA. Tattooing, getting ink in your eyes.
Hmm.
There's a woman who has actually gone blind by getting tattoos in her eyes in Australia or somewhere, I think, or
Yeah.
US.
Yeah.
So it's not safe. People want to look different. People want to do crazy things. Everybody wants to be different, and that's what
Yeah.
makes all of us the same.
Yeah. But I also think like initially when I heard about this, I was like, what's wrong with them? But then I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
let me not be that judgmental because um, you can never understand
Yeah. Why are
what
we getting
somebody has
tattoos? And
gone
some people
off.
will not
Yeah.
understand that.
Yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's when I wanted to sort of shift the conversation from physical safety to the impact and the sort of influence of the mind when it comes to tattoos. Now, mental health by itself is a very broad, general topic.
Yeah.
So I thought, let me narrow it down to a few specific experiences that we all go through. And, you could share your thoughts or some anecdotes that you have. So for somebody who has been severely body shamed or is
Hmm.
very, very ashamed of how they look and can tattoos empower them in some way? Have you ever
Yeah.
done that?
Definitely, it does because you decide to get it done when you want to, break what you're say you're living into a abusive relationship or anything, and you want to break out of that. Tattooing is one of the permanent marks that will kind of empower your mind or strengthen your mind. When you get it done, you will see it every day, and you will know that I'm overcoming or I've overcome this challenge in my life. So mentally, it's a big, it holds a big significance definitely because I've seen people, getting cover-ups of the ex's name and not going back because that story is done, or they've survived some abuse or any kind of mental trauma and they have been carrying it, dragging it, which is leading to anxiety, depression and anxiety, and one fine day they you know clicks in their mind and they said, I don't want to live like this anymore. And I want to restart. And this will be a new chapter of my life. It's like a rebirth. We do a lot of phoenix tattoos, which mean that because a phoenix is
Mhm.
born from the ashes again. So a
Yeah.
lot of people actually, because when you tattoo, we have tattooed more than 10,000 people in my life, and you hear stories from them, so you really know that it is making an impact on their life, and it is something very significant, which they're not getting out of curiosity just for
Yeah.
fashion or a fad. It
Yeah.
really means something to them. So yeah, I think
I remember a couple of years ago, my mom had a heart failure and she went onto the ventilator. And while she was there, I had already rung up a tattoo shop saying, if she dies, I want to get her handwriting on my hand. And that really got me thinking how some relationships can be so profound and deep that you'd want it to live on forever in your skin. So, are tattoos a good way of dealing with loss and grief?
yeah, I think they are because we saw a surge of these memorial tattoos after COVID.
Hmm.
And, I mean, there is a time which you will need to heal anyway. Tattoos cannot accelerate that. But people want some memory of their loved ones on their lives, especially, when it's something, your first relation and someone, like your parents, siblings, spouse,
Mhm.
someone who's very close to you. People want to have that some mark of them on their body forever. So we did a lot of portraits, a lot of signatures, a lot of texts, maybe ECGs, the last heartbeats of that person sometimes. And it really make those people feel that, that lost loved one is still with them, or some of one of their memories with them. So yeah, I mean, really,
Do
you
you
cannot
sometimes feel
understand it.
like, do you
Yeah, till
sometimes
the
feel like
time.
a therapist with
Yeah,
your clients?
I
Yeah.
think so. This was the next thing I was going to say, that sometimes you have to go through a lot and you feel like a psychologist or psychiatrist.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
although we are not trained to do that, but you have
Yeah.
to deal with that and make them, console them, and make them understand as much as
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
understand. But yeah, the person who's going through it can only understand what I'm saying, and till the time you don't go through it, it's just another talk.
Yeah. There's this line by the poet Rumi.
Hmm.
Its original is in Farsi, but I still find the English translation very meaningful. And it says, somewhere beyond right and wrong, there is a garden, and I will meet you there. And for me, a tattoo seems to be that garden where there is no right and wrong, because you can actually create just about anything that you desire.
Yeah,
And growing up, I was always told, if you come from a good home and you're well mannered, then you shouldn't have black ink on you. And I have always visualized myself head to toe in black ink.
yeah,
And the only reason I'm not is because my dear, dear uncle is still there, and I don't want to give him a heart attack. Although he would be hearing this and he might have fallen off his chair already. What are you saying? But for me, that's the association of a tattoo, that it's a little bit more than a skin decoration. And just as there are these positive benefits of getting inked, there's also the downside if you get something wrong or you haven't
yeah.
thought it through. And there's been a lot of writing about tattoo regret and the kind of trauma that gives. Um, are there some steps that one should take before deciding on what they want to get tattooed?
Yeah,
Men-
definitely. They should not get anything just because it looks cool, because or it's in right now. Because a lot of people, we get a lot of inquiries that what is in nowadays, आजकल क्या चल रहा है? आप बताओ. And we always say that what is in today will be out tomorrow. And what will you do then?
Yeah.
It's not a piece of garment that you will change. So yeah, it should be something that you can relate to, or the first thing that comes to your mind if you cannot think of what you want and you really want a tattoo. Although you should have a reason, but if you don't, think of the first thing that you really want, and maybe that's the thing that you desire the most in your life. So get something related to that, something, maybe a symbol that signifies that, not directly that thing if you don't want to be so obvious. But yeah, I mean, sorry, I forgot the question.
That happens. Basically, are there some things that you should do before deciding which tattoo you want?
Yeah, I think you should do the research, and
And
you should ask yourself rather than asking four of your friends, what should I get?
yeah,
Because everyone really knows what they want and what they want to signify, what they want the tattoo to signify, what they want to represent. So I
yeah.
think if you do a deep dive down inside, you will be able to figure out what you want. And people in India, I always say that when there are four friends who come for a tattoo, three of them are giving the advice to the one who's getting the tattoo, and the one who's getting the tattoo is also on his family WhatsApp group taking approvals from everyone. And people are saying, add red to it, the
Yeah,
basic things, get it
yeah.
smaller, India mein ye hota, and all
And
that.
but
And then when one of those three people who are giving advice right now,
yeah,
when it's their turn to get the tattoo, Right now, they were an expert few moments ago. Now they will start doing the same. They will start asking their friends and family group on WhatsApp. So I think people should start taking decisions on their own, not
Yeah.
only regarding tattoos, but regarding their lives, education, or what they want to do in their life in India, especially.
Mm.
Because Indian men, especially, I think they're not very independent as it seems, as they want to show the masculinity.
Mhm.
They feel the most pain more than the women.
I agree.
Uh, they are not mentally there what they want with the tattoo. They want approval from a lot of people. Some women also. So generally, Indian people should be more decisive. I
Mm.
mean, self. They should take the decisions of their life on their own, rather than not only tattoos, everything in their life, rather than just asking everyone. And approval is a big thing in Indian community. What will people say? All that. Thank you. The sun is gone. I can open my eyes.
Ah, that's why you were squinting.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
just made the decision to sit outside for this and because there was sun, which was
yeah,
not there
yeah.
yesterday. It's a
Ah.
novelty here.
So one of the things which really strike me as the process of getting a tattoo done is that, and that's why I began the way I did, that you need to find somebody you feel safe with. You know, the
Yeah,
person who'll be inking you. You need to trust them. You need to feel free. And most importantly, for me, I would want someone who can balance my limitation, my visual and technical limitation with tattoos, with their own strength. Someone who can tell me
yeah.
that that looks excellent on Pinterest, but it's going to look extremely stupid on you. You know, I want that
Not
level
on
of
you
honesty.
particularly, but on Pinterest, most of the pictures are highly
Mm.
photoshopped. They're
Or
extremely
on
bright with high
AI or
contrast.
yeah,
Yeah, they're
yeah,
mostly not even tattoo. Some of them, they're just visual, like the vector templates on the skin, blended with the skin, so the lines look extremely. It's not how it's supposed to be. It goes into your skin. It's supposed to be moving. It's a thing which is alive.
yeah,
So what you see on Pinterest is mostly, and the skin especially, we
yeah,
don't have that kind of skin type.
yeah.
So
But
it
I,
will
I
look
would
definitely different.
I would definitely invest more in the process of that, creating that visual and
Yeah.
listening to what my artist says. Do you find that a little difficult sometimes to give people advice? Because we don't like listening to advice from professionals. We listen to the family WhatsApp, but
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
necessarily from the expert.
The problem is that people who want a tattoo, first of all, they don't get it immediately. They take a lot of time to think what they want, and the ideas change sometimes. But most of the times, what happens is that they have a picture on on their phone, which they have saved since the last 6 months or 1 year, and they're looking at it every day. And suddenly, you come up with a better design. You cannot convince them that this is a better design because they have been looking at the picture since 6 months or 1 year, and it's etched in their mind already. They want that. I say that don't copy someone else's tattoo because your tattoo should be unique. So should you be like everyone else. But they want that same picture, same colors, same placement. And it's very difficult to tell them otherwise that, first of all, you should not copy blatantly any other tattoo. It should be something unique, make some changes in it. Add your own elements, subtract something, change the color, or something. But they want the same exact tattoo. And here is completely different in Luxembourg, in Europe, wherever I go. People come up to me and say that this is what I like, but I don't want this. Create something similar, different for me, because I don't want to copy someone else. So people have that already, that understanding here. In India, people think it's okay to copy images, text, everything,
Because
even
we're not born or even encouraged to be imaginative, right?
or even
Uh,
songs as
mm,
music directors in India.
yeah,
Everything is a movie, complete movie scripts. It's okay to copy. So
yeah. You said that little bit about, sometimes it can get tiring to counsel clients.
yeah,
To me, I couldn't do what you do. I just couldn't because you aren't just entrusted with somebody's, journey in life, but you also get entrusted with somebody's physical body, and the kind of trust and someone would give you, it would completely overwhelm me. I wouldn't know what to do. How do you cope with the demands of the job?
I think it just comes with time. No one can teach you that. You know, the time molds you to, I cannot say better, but to whoever you become in future. So this is not a thing that you can just go and learn it online. When you deal with a lot of people, you I don't know. I'm in the studio and people don't even know some of the clients who I am. I'm the owner, founder, or even a tattoo artist. But when I say something to them, like just a point that maybe you can increase or decrease that. So most of the time, people will come back in the studio. I'm roaming around. They don't know who I am. I'm a tattoo artist or not. But they. So you have to have that conviction in your voice when you say something, and it can only come with experience. You cannot fake it.
Mm,
When you really mean what you say, people will understand. And if you try to sell them something, they will understand.
yeah,
Because the human instincts, they are designed to be like, everyone knows when someone is trying to sell them something, upsell them something, fool them, or
yeah,
this is a genuine advice. So it has to come from within. It has to be honest. And if you try to run after money, it will not, you'll never chase it. But if you are honest with your work and you do it passionately and you're chasing after your passion, not money, then everything follows automatically.
yeah.
So I think,
And I really like one thing about this growing industry in India, that it's creating space for women artists now.
yeah.
That image in your head that only men would be tattoo artists. I love that so many girls are now joining.
Yeah, four of
Um,
them in our studio itself. I mean, three now. Shamli has left India, but we have
okay.
Angel, Pallavi, Priyam,
Yeah. Yeah.
and our manager is also female, so
Yeah.
she's a lot into
And
the
gender has
industry.
nothing to do with creativity or skill,
Mm.
right?
No, no, not at all. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, you will create. I mean, females definitely will create softer designs.
Hmm.
Not generalizing, but most of them will do that, and men will create something masculine. So the females will create designs which are more appropriate to females. Men cannot, maybe, there might
Hmm.
be some foundation mentally, but they cannot
Yeah.
think like how women do. So I think it's
Yeah.
better for female clients to find a female artist who can match their vision.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much for everything you've shared. I
My pleasure.
specifically did this topic because the market is really flourishing in the country, and I'm so glad that you talked about hygiene and aftercare, because you don't want to get some
I
antibiotic
mean, that's the
resistant
most important thing. More
infection. Yeah.
important than the
Yeah.
tattoo itself is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
hygiene, which should be followed by the artist, and the
Mm.
aftercare, which should be followed by the client. This is more important than anything else
And the
because,
recognition that we need to pay for that, right?
yeah, yeah, and the government, if someone is
Yes.
listening, should make some norms, rules, laws regarding tattooing. Because
Great.
anyone
Thank
with a machine and needle can start it, and it can lead to bad consequences, bad name for the
They
industry.
have started it. If you go down Goa, like every 100 meters, there's a shop now.
Even Hoskas village, if you see that.
Yes, yes, I did. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So I'm going to end this with something that doesn't just apply to somebody who wants to get a tattoo done, but it can apply to anyone who is finding it difficult to do something that they really want to do, or be someone who they want to be. A couple of months ago, I went to Devil's Tattoos, and I walked up to the entrance, and I turned around and I left. And I walked about 400 meters, and then I stopped and I turned around and I went back. And I did this for about 15 minutes, going back and forth. And, the reason I did that is because I didn't think I was good enough to be there. And that's the worst kind of prison that anyone can be in, where you have judged yourself
Yeah.
based on, the sort of feedback you've gotten from the world around you. And it's very common with people who've been bullied or over criticized, or, you have a very low self worth. And as a sort of coping mechanism for that, very often people will remove themselves from places or from other people because they're so afraid that this other person is just going to see the worst in me. I'm not good enough. I am this, 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 but you fail to see all the other good things that you are.
Yeah.
And, you know, I am so glad that that day when I was going into Devils, it was after having worked on myself for about a couple of years. And what that taught me was how to own my insecurities, how to wear them with pride. Okay, so I am a bubblegum romantic who believes in happily ever afters. And I listen to Taylor Swift and a regrettably long forgotten pop song called Pookie. And up until 2 months ago, I actually thought that when people smoke, they inhale the smoke from the nose and the mouth is just there to hold it in place. And this despite being married to a former chain smoker. But so what? So what? Are you not going to talk to me? Are you not going to let me into your shop? Are you not going to put a tattoo on me? So what? I can't tell you the number of times I've stood outside a tattoo shop and told myself, oh, you don't need to go in there. No, 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 no. It's full of patriarchal, toxic men. They'll be talking about skulls and vampires. You don't need that. You stay away. And and it's so sad. But that day when I went into Devils finally, and I was there for a few hours, and I walked in and there were all these big guys with, big guns and not muscles. They had guns inked on. And
Oh,
I was there, and when I left, I realized I actually felt safer and happier there than I have in a lot of known homes and spaces. And what I'm trying to say is when you move beyond self imposed limitations and criticisms, there is so much more in this world for you to learn from and connect with, and so many more people for you to learn from and connect with. And you have to realize that, okay, this might not appeal to somebody about you, but that's their loss that they're not able to see all the good bits about you. So I listen to strange songs and don't understand the mechanisms of smoking. But I'm also kind and I'm very loyal and I'm honest and I make the best cookies in the world. Just ask my producer, who I love and who loves me. And I love her despite whatever she chooses to be, excellent producer or a girl who forces me to get photos done. Um, but that's what I'm trying to say. Don't be closed to exploring new things. Did you learn something from this episode? And do you feel a little bit safer, a little bit wiser to get a tattoo done now? And are you aware that there are 500 species of mosquitoes in this world, which are gorgeous and completely harmless? And I'm saying this because if I were to get inked, I wouldn't get a butterfly, I'd get a machar. What would you get? You can write to us at pods@indiatoday.com, or you can message us on 8588 966 And if you did learn something from this episode, and if you think I'm a genius for getting Lokesh Verma on a call, then please leave us a rating. We're there on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube Music.